Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here today. Hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look at Trac, and just before we do, we usually look at Bitcoin, but we're just going to jump right in because I think I understand why this is happening. More importantly, thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, just know I'm not a financial advisor. I just have over 15 years of trading experience, and my goal is to help you become a better, more effective trader. That's the purpose of these videos. That's the purpose for my trading community. I actually have a link in the description below for my trading community through Patreon. And actually, I share signals with every single trade that I take. It's fully automated through a bot, which is referred to as Cornix, through Telegram. Amazing, amazing situation. Fantastic members too, man. My patrons are the best. Anyways, let's take a look at Trac, right? Let's just jump right in. This is a 4-hour chart. Let's take a quick peek at the one-day chart first. Now, I've reviewed this previously. That's why we have these lines on here from support and resistance levels, but obviously it broke its all-time high and it moved way past its Fibonacci retracement line. So we'll have to draw some new lines, of course, and see what's going on. But big picture, I'm pretty confident if we take a look here at this, that the reason why this took place is the fact that we have, what is it, Trac, Coinbase, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, Coinbase, first day ICO, or, it was introduced to this exchange rather on this day, this fateful day of November 2nd. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of what's going on there. That is the reason for this increase. In most cases, when you see a rare spike in price, it was offered to a new exchange, usually a larger exchange. When it goes to Binance, Coinbase, some of the larger ones, you can see a really big increase. Anyways, that's kind of the reason there for that. That being said, let's take a look at the some of the normal stuff first, and we'll dive into the Fibonacci retracement lines. All right, so SMA lines, nothing to really note there. Price over 70, also pretty standard considering how high it just shot up. So those things are pretty much irrelevant. I would normally look at that as well on the 4-hour chart, but there's not much to disseminate. Let's take a quick look at the cloud though and just see, okay, yeah, that's so far away, it doesn't even matter. And then what about TD sequential? We're right up at an 8. So this is one that's probably the most relevant here, minus the support and resistance levels on Fibonacci, right? Because if you're new to TD sequential, it really takes a series of numbers and helps you understand how far into this momentous trend it is, it has been, or it is currently, whatever the case is essentially we're 8 hours into a bullish market, right? So obviously roughly 8 hours ago it started pushing up and then eventually broke the bank here, and probably right around this time, right around what, 2 p.m. Pacific, 2 hours ago, we saw the price introduced to Coinbase. That's probably what happened. That being said, we're about 8 hours into a 9-hour trend, right? So the likelihood of it continuing upwards from here, I feel, is fairly low. And I think it would be advantageous to consider trimming your position, just in general, taking some profits if you have them, just because the fact that yes, price might increase, but how much more would it increase, right? An extra 10, 20%, probably not that likely. In other words, this increase here, the 100 to 200% increase, is much more significant than an extra 10 or 20%, right? So just keep that in mind. I would highly recommend considering taking some profit if possible. But let's look at just kind of a couple of things here first and see. First of all, we want to look at the Fibonacci retracement lines. So we'll find the most recent low point here and head up here, right? So what we can do is kind of take a closer look here. First of all, let's go to this here. We'll put a resistance level right at about $3.47. So that's obviously a resistance line. We've also got pretty consistent Fibonacci retracement line at 0.618. That puts us about 266. And then there's also 382, which is effectively $2.16. Now this halfway point is 0.5. That's basically exactly halfway up the Fibonacci retracement. That's a really common thing. So if just say, for example, you don't know anything about Fibonacci retracement, you don't want to mess with it. When you see a price increase like this, you can expect the price to retrace 50% of the way, right? And coincidentally, look at this wick right here, probably 15, 30 minutes ago, came all the way down to that halfway point and bounced, right? That's a pretty common scenario. So we could even draw that out as well, because that could likely be a settling point later, right at about $2.40. Okay, so we got this little support channel, essentially. We got a resistance zone there and the price kind of floating in between. Now we could effectively put this back up here and draw this line as well. I try not to have too many lines in my charts, but it doesn't hurt to have Fibonacci retracement lines on here. So we've got that as well here. So again, there's plenty of options. What could happen next? It's really hard to say, but what I can tell you is that in my experience over all the years I've seen price increases of this magnitude, the likelihood of it coming down 50% is very high, right? Now, we're still in that strange transition right now where everything is getting funneled into the other exchange, and they're kind of going all back and forth. Bear in mind the price action here could be a little different than the price action on Coinbase too. So there's that as well. So if you're on Coinbase right now, you might see slightly different figures. But the bottom line here is I would recommend just admitting the fact that there's a good chance the price will consolidate down to 240. That's probably more so an immediate worst case scenario. But best case scenario, I would say the price would probably level out somewhere where it's at right now, because this is a pretty common resistance level right around 302. We should be able to see the price kind of average out. So what we'll have to do is probably just take another look at this soon, because really it's very difficult to predict exactly where it's going to go from here. What we can do though, of course, big picture, if you're interested, because this does help with a lot of other coins, of course, is to understand roughly where it could go based on its current trend, right? So with the fact that it's moved up this percent in the last 2 hours, right? Say it just goes sideways from here on out. That's what we want, because ultimately we don't want it to retrace. If it goes sideways from here on out and just kind of settles along one of these 2 or 3 lines, then what we want is for effectively the price to go higher, obviously. But the big picture and what you need to understand is that this little section right here, this is essentially the same section right there as well. So Fibonacci has a bunch of different lines, but basically we got a 2 right here for Fibonacci right on across the top. So what I'm trying to get at is a simple fact that if we were to draw a resistance line right up here, that would probably be very realistic. That would be more so a better case scenario of where the price could end up, right? So basically just multiplying what it just did times 2, okay? So simply put, if we see the similar increase, another spike, then it'll go as high as $5.55. So I would say, comfortably at the end of November, we could see a range in the $5.50 range. However, there's a lot of things that factor in between now and then that we need to understand that we don't have enough data for, right? So we need to kind of just take a closer look at this later. I'll have to take a quick peek at this either later tonight or early tomorrow, kind of see what's going on with the price action. But honestly, right now with this kind of increase, there's really no rhyme or reason. You're almost, I guess you could say, gambling in a sense, because it's very difficult to anticipate. Just based on Fibonacci retracement lines, I can tell you it'll stay in this range here probably for a while. I don't think it'll increase much further considering how high it went initially. It's very rare for coins to be introduced to other exchanges and to have a consistent uptrend from there, right? It needs to consolidate, it needs to kind of figure out what price it needs to average at moving forward. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is just be very careful. If you are already in this, just say you were in Trac in somewhere around 51 cent, 50 cents, $1, $1.50, take your profits. You've literally 2x'd your coin. Take some, trim some off the top and consider adding to your position when the price retraces back down to that 50% level, and then maybe hold on from there, right? Reestablish some support levels, set new targets. But at this point, I don't foresee it going much higher personally, just based on the simple fact that it's still kind of figuring it out, if that makes any sense, right? I think all the movement that we've seen so far is as far as it's going to go, and it's just going to keep getting more and more interesting. So just something to remember, right? Keep that in mind. But you can see, if we look at the smaller time frames, 240 has been tested twice already. And obviously the resistance up here has been tested too. So yeah, again, we're right at that 9 point. We shouldn't see much more continuation. We should see a retracement correction down to 240. That's my speculation. Again, best case, 550 by month end, but I would say realistic scenario, $2.40 by the end of today. That would be my guess, or within a couple of days, right? So just be careful. That's all I ask. And obviously, take profits while you still can. Thank you so much for joining me here, though. I really appreciate you sticking around. Hopefully you learned a thing or two here. If not, that's okay. Let me know if you have a position here. Obviously, if you got in early, that'd be great. I'd love to celebrate that. But furthermore, you get a chance, reach out to me through Telegram. I'd be happy to educate you on how to become a patron and effectively, become a better trader, right? We all need to improve, and I think it's high time we find some some good advice out there. Hopefully I can help you with that. All right, thank you so much for your time. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. You have a great rest of your day. Take care.